Hello, good evening to you and welcome to News 360. The bulletin comes to you live from the News Hub here at Disawe, Kanda. I'm Natalie Ford.
And my name is Parkus Yassari. In the next 60 minutes, we'll bring you a compilation of local plus international stories.
Absolutely. And the top stories this evening: the Bank of Ghana revokes license of Heritage and Premium, downgrades GN Bank to a savings and loans company.
Also in the bulletin, the Tema Regional CID begins investigations into fresh murder case, the second in a week.
Also ahead this evening, scores of residents of Fijai stage demonstration to demand whereabouts of kidnapped victims in Sekondi Takoradi.
And later, we tell you more about vagina steaming, a practice gradually gaining popularity amongst the youth.
And on the international front this evening, Democrats-controlled U.S. House of Representatives vote to end a partial government shutdown, but the move looks certain to be voted by President Donald Trump.
We've got details of these stories plus many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Remember, you can also join us on our social media feed. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Now, scores of residents of Fijai and its environs, together with relatives of kidnapped victims in Sekondi Takoradi, are calling on the police service to expedite investigations on the whereabouts of some missing children. They are also demanding from the police service an assurance that the rearrested serial kidnapper will not break cells again.
Alleged serial kidnapper Samuel Willis was arrested and sent to the Takoradi Central Police Station on Sunday, December 30. However, he managed to escape from the Takoradi Central Police Station on Monday, December 31, 2018. This angered relatives of the victims. According to them, it is unthinkable for the suspect to have escaped. They therefore blamed the police for being complicit. The relatives of the victims, together with some concerned residents, planned a peace walk to protest the escape. However, the suspect was in the wee hours of Friday, January 4, 2019, rearrested in an uncompleted building at Kansal Rodo, close to Fijai. But a relative to the victim, Mami Kate, insists the rearrest is not enough. She demands the whereabouts of her relative. If it is true that he has been rearrested, then he should show us the whereabouts of the children. We want to know if they are alive or not. Assembly member of Fijai electoral area, Mark Kujo, said the kidnappings have left residents in a state of fear. He wants an assurance from the police that the rearrest will lead to the recovery of the victims.
We are pleading with the police to return our relatives to us. It is the only way we can believe and trust them to do a good job.
In some other news this evening, the Abudu royal family has pledged their unflinching commitment to work with the Andani royal family to ensure a lasting peace in Dagbon. The Abudu royal family was at the presidency to thank government for the support offered for the performance of the funeral of the late Yana Mahamudu Abdullahi.
The Abudu royal family, led by the regent of Dagbon, Bolin Lana Abdullahi Muhammadu, thanked the president and the government for their support for a successful funeral for the late Yana. The Bolin Lana, whose speech was read for him, assured the president they stand for peace and will work towards lasting peace in Dagbon.
The performance of the funeral of the late overlord of Dagbon, Yana Muhammad Abdullahi, has indeed lifted the dark clouds that has been hanging over Dagbon at Dagombes everywhere they are, and it is our conviction that a truly lasting and enduring peace, unity, genuine reconciliation will follow. We are committed to achieving this peace, and we continue to offer a hand of brotherhood and friendship to our brothers, the Andanis.
President Akufo-Addo lauded their sacrifices and urged them to work towards solidifying the peace process.
Now we have to look forward to make sure that what has been constructed now becomes permanent. We're looking for the performance of the funeral, the late Yamna Yakubu Andani, after which, according to the customs, the laws of Dagbon, a new Yamna will be selected. And that process should bring us to a situation where now all hands, Abudu and Dani, all hands in Dagbon will come on board and work towards lifting up the image of Dagbon and bringing progress and prosperity to the area.
The president said the achievement so far vindicates the foresight of former President Kufuor to set up a customary mediation to work on the roadmap for peace.
You're still watching News 360 live from our news hub here at Adesawe in Accra. You can also watch us on Facebook. We're streaming live on Facebook to our big story for the day, and two more local banks, Heritage and Premium Bank, have been collapsed and merged with Consolidated Bank. This brings to 23 the total number of banks currently operating in the country after the expiration of the 31 December deadline for commercial banks to meet the 400 million cedi stated capital. At a press conference this afternoon, Governor of the Central Bank, Mr. Ernest Addison, also named 5 other banks who are to receive financial support from the government. I beg your pardon.
Following the recapitalization exercise that has just ended at the end of December 2018, we now have 23 universal banks operating in Ghana. These banks have all met the new minimum paid-up capital of 400 million Ghana cedis. In particular, 16 banks have met the new minimum paid-up capital requirement of 400 million through the capitalization of income surplus and fresh capital injection. The Bank of Ghana has approved 3 applications for mergers. Consequently, the First Atlantic Merchant Bank Limited and Energy Commercial Bank have merged. Omni Bank and Bank Sahel Sahara have merged. And First National Bank and GHL Bank have merged. The 3 resulting banks out of these mergers have all met the new minimum capital requirement. GN Bank was unable to comply with the minimum capital directive by 31st December 2018. Consequently, the bank has applied for and Bank of Ghana has approved the grant of a savings and loans company license. Pursuant to Section 123 of the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2016, that is Act 930, the Bank of Ghana has revoked the banking licenses of Premium Bank Limited and Heritage Bank Limited with effect from the date of this notice, and has appointed Mr. Vish Ashiagbo of PricewaterhouseCoopers as receiver for the 2 banks. The Bank of Ghana has approved a purchase and assumption agreement between the receiver and Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, under which the receiver has transferred some assets and liabilities of the 2 banks to CBG.
So, per the statement of the Central Bank Governor, GN Bank becomes a savings and loans company now. The company has issued a statement saying it's not been downgraded to a savings and loans entity as being circulated by the media. And this communication came from the head of communications at Group Indu, Frank Owusu, in a statement, and noted that the bank had earlier applied for a savings and loans status. I'm going to be speaking to the general manager in charge of marketing and sales and customer service for Group Indum, Alan Kwe. He joins me in the studio. Alan, thank you very much for your time. So, what are you saying, that you're not being downgraded?
Okay, I think we need to clarify on the downgrade status. As an institution, we applied to be a savings and loans.
When did you make this application?
Oh, somewhere around somewhere in 2018. The exact date I would not be able to tell now.
Which month was this?
Should be around either October.
Okay.
And our application went to the Bank of Ghana.
Why did you make this application?
We did that application because, yes, we found it difficult, we found it difficult to raise the minimum capital. And we felt that we had more pressing issues, which is addressing the liquidity issues of the bank. So instead of looking for money that would be used for the stated or the required capital, we would look for money to help address the liquidity issue that we faced. And that for us was much more importance than trying to meet the minimum capital requirement.
So what happens to you now? You're in the process of
we've been given 6 months to transition from a bank to a savings and loans. So within this period, we'll still be operating as a bank, and then after the 6th month, we would have done what is required by us, as per what Bank of Ghana requires, to be a savings and loans bank.
Some have suggested that there's likely to be a contagion effect with this action. I mean, from a bank to a savings and loans company, what happens to people who have saved in the bank? Okay. Is there not likely to be further withdrawals? Already you're facing liquidity challenges.
Yes, it's true. The implications are such that it would impact on customers, because yes, your portfolio of banking services that you render would be affected. Under savings and loans, you can't do what we call the foreign operations business, and you can't also do clearing business. When I say clearing business, it means that you cannot clear your own checks at the clearing house, so you need to do it through another bank. So obviously, with that 6 months, a lot of things have to happen. The name would have to change, the rebranding would have to start, reorganization of our business model would also change, because operating as a bank is very different it's different from a savings and loans. So we would have to reorganize our business, put in a new business plan for the next 5 years, right. Among other things as well. Yes, of course. The fact that we are being a savings and loans bank, yes, there are some institutions who by their investment policy will not be required to do banking with the savings and loans company. So obviously it would affect them.
Right. Alan Kwe is General Manager in charge of Marketing, Sales and Customer Service at Group Indum. Let's just also go and listen to the Chairman of Group Indum, Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum. He's been addressing the media after this latest announcement by the Central Bank.
To look for money. Inside Ghana, we couldn't find that kind of money. Okay? Our capital at the end of last year was about 127 million Ghana cedis. We ourselves were able to bring 80 million Ghana cedis as deposit for capital. So now you're talking somewhere around 200 million. So we needed an additional 200 million or 250, give or take some. But then wherever we went, there was somebody who wanted to just come and take over the bank because we didn't have the rest, to put on the table. But we've worked hard to build this bank with 300 branches, which is about 20% of the branch network of banks in Ghana. And so we didn't want to go and make this Ghanaian bank turn it into a foreign bank. So that's one reason.
All right, so you just had President and Chairman of Group Indum, Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum there speaking on GNTV a while ago, explaining their position on this matter. Now, let me just give you a brief background to all this, what's just happened today. And as you can just watch from the screen, as of 2017, we had a total of 34 banks as of 2017. Today, 2019, we have 23 banks. Now, again in 2017, as of the time we had 34 banks, the central bank had raised the minimum capital requirement from 120 million cedis to a whopping 400 million cedis. Now, check the difference. A difference of about 233%. That's the highest in the banking industry, Ghana's banking industry, the highest capital, requirement by the central bank. Now, in 2017, we had UT Bank and Capital Bank. Their licenses were revoked, and through a purchase and assumption agreement, GCB took over these two banks. In 2018, Unibank, Beige Bank, Royal Bank, Construction Bank, as well as Sovereign Bank were all merged. All these 5 banks were collapsed and merged into one bank called the Consolidated Bank Ghana. Now, again, after the central bank had given its minimum capital requirement of 400 million cedi, which was to expire by December 31 of 2018, we had ADB Bank, the National Investment Bank, Prudential Bank, Omni Bank, and Sahel Sahara's UMB Bank. Now, these banks, according to the central bank, had good corporate governance practices. They were very solvent, but undercapitalized. And so the government of Ghana decided, through a special purpose vehicle, which is the Ghana Amalgamated Trust, to issue 2 billion cedi of financial support to these entities. Now, watch this closely. Unibank, Beige Bank, Royal Bank, Construction Bank, and Sovereign Bank, together with Heritage Bank, Heritage Bank and Premium Bank, today were announced to have had their licenses revoked for several reasons. So as of today, what we're seeing is that Heritage Bank and Premium Bank have been added to Consolidated Bank Ghana. So now we have Unibank, Beige Bank, Royal Bank, Construction Bank, Sovereign Bank, Heritage Bank, as well as Premium Bank, all making up the Consolidated Bank Ghana. GN Bank, as you've just heard, have now become a savings and loans company. So this is just to give you a brief background to all that's happened so far. So in total, 16 banks have met the 400 million cedi minimum capital requirement set by the central bank. Again, one of the banks that's just exited is the Bank of Baroda. Now, they exited for very strategic reasons, and their customers have been taken over by Stanbic Bank Ghana. Now, in terms of the mergers, let me just quickly wrap up on the mergers. The mergers were First Atlantic Merchant Bank plus Energy Bank merging. We also have Omni Bank and Sahel Sahara Bank merging, and then First National Bank, as well as GHL Bank Limited, that's a Ghana Home Loans Bank merging. So this is a brief background to all that has happened since 2018, when the Bank of Ghana raised the minimum capital requirement from 120 million cedis to 400 million cedis. So I've just been joined in studio by financial consultant, Mr. Charles Mensah. He's been monitoring developments within the banking industry and has got a lot of experience, studying the functions of most of the banks. Mr. Mensah, thank you very much for your time and good to have you on NEWS360. Let me just begin by getting your own assessment of what's happened today.
Thank you for having me and a good evening. I think basically some good signal have been sent to the international community that the financial services sector is very strong now, and the real problem is that most of the shareholders and management of these banks are those who are going to suffer. I mean, in terms of management, are going to change. Shareholders are not going to receive the kind of support or dividend that they were getting. But in terms of the customer base, there will be realignment, because most of the customers are now going to become customers of the new bank, or in terms of Alliance Bank, which is the GN Bank, where they basically have become a savings and loans bank. They're going to lose some of the customers who hitherto were doing foreign transaction business. They were doing letters of credit, they were importing, they were exporting. So they probably would have to shift to some banks. Maybe strategically, within the 6 months, the management of GN Bank probably would have to do some strategic alliance with 1 or 2 of the investor banks so they can work through them in terms of the clearing, in terms of also of the letters of credit, so they can earn something. Because they're going to lose all those customers, and the customers are going to shift. So customer-wise, nobody's losing money. Depositors, nobody's losing money. It's just a realignment, because they will shift from one bank to the other bank. So the real people who are going to suffer now, or who will be losing on these changes that is happening in the system, would be the shareholders, the management, and the board of directors of some of these banks. Because with a merger, for instance, there's no way they're going to keep 2 managing directors. So one managing director, somebody will lose their job. Finance directors, corporate directors, the board directors, they will lose their job.
Are you surprised that as of 2019, the central bank governor stated that for a bank like Heritage, they obtained their licenses under false pretense, if you like, under suspicious means. We had this transpire last year in the case of construction and other banks. What does this tell you?
I think we need more details of that for me to comment professionally. Because if you look at it, it is Bank of Ghana who granted the license in the first place. Are we saying that they didn't do the due diligence well? Because if you're now saying that they got their license through suspicion because you don't even trust the source of the funding, as is being alleged, then you need to ask questions as to who did the evaluation, who awarded the license, because it means that they didn't do a good job from Bank of Ghana. And
I've got two final questions for you. Again, the Bank of Ghana, we're told, is issuing a bond of about 1.4 billion cedis to cover up for the gap between the good assets as well as liabilities for the Premium and Heritage Bank, which has just been added to Consolidated Bank. We know in the case of the first collapse of the 5 banks that they had issued some bonds already.
8 billion.
Yes.
For overall, yeah.
What are the implications of this?
Basically, when they issue a bond, means that the government fiscally doesn't have cash to pump into this thing. So they issue a bond at a certain rate. So those who have excess cash will participate in this bond market and ensure that that bank, the new bank, which is Consolidated Bank, would have access to this bond. I mean, it will be paperwork. So in terms of the balance of their books, if they add the assets and add the liabilities, there'll be a gap. And that gap is completed by a bond, which the government is providing for. But the other ones, the support is in equity form. The Ghana Amalgamated Trust. Yeah. So that one is equity. Right. It's not a debt. Yeah. So indeed, one would have loved to see this bond rather converted into equity, into Consolidated Bank. Much as they've met the 400 million cedis for Consolidated Bank, nothing stops them from increasing. So instead of bond, maybe we have to increase the shareholding structure in terms of size. So no more bonds, but increase the equity value of Consolidated Bank, and they will allow them to participate.
In 10 seconds, what does this do to banking confidence in the interim?
It has gone up. It has gone up because, like I said, it is the customers that will be realigned. Okay. The confidence is that now you can do business. International community now will know that, yes, Ghana, Bank of Ghana, they have their big stake and they are watching things. But I think quickly, them throw something in. It's an opportunity for the government and Bank of Ghana to use policy from now on to allow all the banks to be listed on the stock market. It will be clean for everybody. So we don't have these surprises being sprung on us as we move ahead.
Thank you very much. Charles Mensah is a financial analyst joining us to look at happenings within Ghana's banking space. You're still watching News 360 live from our news hub here at Adesawe in Accra. We'll return with Mission.
Welcome back to News 360. Time now for our Mission segment, which is brought to you by Star Ghana with support from UK Aid, DANIDA and the European Union. In Mission this evening, the Kwewu Afram Plains North District Education Directorate has justified its decision for scheduling an odd timetable for the Madagascar Primary School. But District Chief Executive Samuel Kena disagrees. The following report is the final episode of an earlier story on the exploitation of pupils by parents at Madagascar, an island community in the Kwewu Afram Plains North District.
Mana is leaving the farm at 10:30 to bath for school, but she was already tired. She reported to school at 11:15 a.m. Even then, lots of pupils have not reported to school. Usually, pupils used on farms before coming to school become feeble and lack concentration in class. But Mana claims she learns at night.
I get tired after every farming activity, so I cannot concentrate in class. I only learn at night.
I am being engaged in hard labor, so I find it difficult to concentrate in class.
My check in the community reveals that the District Education Directorate has scheduled a different timetable for the Madagascar Primary School, which enables both pupils and teachers come to school at 9:30 and close at 3 p.m. Head teacher of the school, Raphael Boha, is happy about the arrangement by the District Education Directorate.
I also school in a community like this or in a situation like this before. If the situation were to be like this, I may not tend to be a teacher. So what we do is that we realize that the community, they engage themselves in fishing and farming. So we made the office aware. So they have drawn a suggested timetable for us so that it can suit the level of the children in the community.
But this has not achieved any desired result, as parents only capitalize on the measure to exploit their children.
When they come to the school in the morning, 9 o'clock, from 9 o'clock to the 12 o'clock, you can see them active. But above 12 o'clock, they'll be, dozing up, they'll be calling for, I'm hungry, those things. So we need to close them.
The mission team then went to seek answers from the district education officers. Assistant Director in charge of supervision, Moses Tangbe, justified the Education Directorate's decision.
People walk for 10 kilometers and above to the school. So because of that, when we say we start classes as the way other schools start normal classes, the children who walk that distance will no benefit.
He said although the practice of child exploitation at Madagascar is a common phenomenon, the situation the mission team met is a sign of improvement.
Formerly, it was at a high level, but now it is reducing. Majority of them allow their children to come to school early because of this sensitization we've been conducting in the district.
Circuit Supervisor for Minchem Frame Circuit, Dawood Adamu, indicated the proposed closing time for school is usually not observed.
Though the parents have agreed that we should extend the time up to 3 o'clock, but they will allow these kids to come to school. Not all of them, some, they have not eaten. And those who have not eaten, when you are extending the time up to 3, they are the people who will be crying, we are hungry, we are that and that. Even the classroom will be boring, so what do? When around 2:30 you need to close.
But the district chief executive for Kwewu Afram Plains North, Samuel Kena, disagrees with the decision by the district education office.
There's no document at the district assembly supporting that Madagascar should have this schooling time. No. So why Madagascar alone? It is not the only community. Some are even on the island and they are not doing that.
The state of the school is another demotivation factor. The situation, coupled with the non-availability of teaching and learning aids, have dwindled pupils' interest in education for decades. Pupils of the Madagascar primary school have no option than to continue studying in the LAC. The district assembly and the education office are eager to improve education and get more children enrolled.
So, how we can keep our body clean? Yes.
English language is used during instructional hours, but none of the pupils can speak or understand the language. Children of Madagascar have bright future, but stakeholders must play their effectual roles. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Madagascar, Kwewu Afram Plains North, Eastern Region.
On that in our subsequent bulletins. And that does it for our mission segment this evening. It's brought to you by Star Ghana with support from UK Aid, Danida and the European Union. Coming up next on News 360 is Business News.
The Business News segment is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go, Universal Merchant Bank.
Thanks very much for joining us for the latest in business news. Now, the minority in Parliament has blamed the NPP-led government for the lack of infrastructure needed to fully utilize gas being produced by ENI from the offshore Cape 3 Point. The lack of infrastructure to transport gas from the OCTP field to Tema and also the relocation of the 450 megawatts car power badge to Takoradi is costing the nation in excess of $28 million a month since October last year.
Rejected news reports that the country is paying $40 million per month to ENI and partners since October, when the take or pay clause in the 2015 contract kicked in. Head of Communications at the Energy Ministry, Nana Damwai, insists the country is paying $28 million per month for gas not utilized.
Government steps that it took were, first of all, to ensure that GNPC's part of it, which was a 10% of the value of the gas, was not being produced. Government ensured that we renegotiated the price of the gas from $10.15 per million scarf to $7.89. Then we also went about speeding up the process of conversion of the thermal plants in the Western Enclave from reliance on other fuels to gas. This ensured that we are using about 60 million scarf of the gas in that enclave alone.
The minority observed the MPP-led administration did not renegotiate with ENI. The estimated cost for the development of the offshore Cape 3 Point, OCTP, was $7 billion. The indicative gas price was $9.8 for 1 million British thermal units, MMBTU. The contract had it that every $1 million savings from the development was to be applied to reduce the gas price by 55 cents. $691 million savings was made, meaning a price reduction of $3.3, which brings the price to $6.5 of MMBTU of gas, not $7.89. ENI had proposed to use the $691 million savings to expand production. However, the Select Committee of Parliament on Mines and Energy supported GNPC that the savings be applied as stated in the contract for the reduction of gas price from ENI and partners.
That is why we are calling on government to explain how it has been applied.
A member on Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee and MP for Damango, Adam Mutawakilu, alleged the 450 megawatt car power barge is still in Tema because of some personal interest by the current government.
Civil work were to be constructed in Takoradi so that the car power ship would dock at Takoradi and not Tema. In now transporting it to Takoradi, it has a snail pace just because of selfish interests of the government in terms of fuel suppliers and negotiating for a fruitless extension of the car power ship.
Questioned on why the NDC government decided to sign a contract with a take-or-pay clause, this is what Mutawakilu had to say.
Investment analysis indicated that without take-or-pay, the investment will not materialize. Even after the take-or-pay, we need partial risk guarantee support from World Bank. These were all to assure the partner that we are ready to pay.
The minority in parliament indicated the NDC government put in place the necessary arrangements for the infrastructure to be in place before the production of gas by ENI and partners.
The implication of the country not being able to fully utilize the gas being produced by ENI and partners are that the taxpayer will pay more energy debt will be incurred, and a possible extension of the Energy Sector Levy Act, that is the ESLA bond. Eben Ejekumbwati, TV3, Accra.
That's it for the business news on News360. Thanks very much for watching. For more business news stories, do log on to our website, www.3news.com.
Thanks, Parker. For the business news, let's turn to some other stories this evening as the Tema Regional CID is investigating a murder case in which the suspect, Francis Appiah, a 42-year-old Mason, is alleged to have stabbed Mohammed Tijani to death. The deceased is said to have assaulted the suspect on December 29, 2018.
The police says the suspect reported the case to the Community Aids Police, where he was issued a medical form to go to the hospital for treatment. On January 2, the deceased and 5 others attacked him and hit the suspect's head with a stone. The suspect went back to the police and reported and was again issued with a medical form. However, the deceased kept on escaping police arrest. On January 3, around 8:30 a.m., the deceased, who was then holding a knife, is alleged to have attacked the suspect. The suspect is alleged to have overpowered the deceased, took the knife and stabbed him.
We have intensified our patrols and we are making sure
we protect the city. However, some of these things you cannot rule out, but we will make sure we do our best to curtail some of these, violent crimes.
Stay with us here on News 360.
Welcome back to News 360. Now, children in the Second D Takoradi Metropolis have also had a share of the Talented Kids Fun Tour experience. The train made its final stop at the Heritage Fun Park within the Metropolis, and kids couldn't help but express their joy. Here are some excerpts from the show.
Hey, 30 people ready? Zay. Let's go. Sometimes I'm young and I'm rich and I'm high. K-boy. Shake body. That's right. Hey.
Well, the kids really showing their dancing skills there. Now, it will be another exciting Saturday evening on Music as Week 4 presents a special Thanksgiving session with gospel icons Gifty Osei and Pastor Kofi.
After a successful relaunch on December 7, 2018, Music has had successful series of shows. The past 3 weeks of the show has seen great exhibition of talents and utmost excitement of studio audience and viewers. Keche, Take, Galaxy and Raftown Records, signee Wendy Shea and other amazing artists have graced the stage. Fast forward to Week 4 and the first Saturday of 2019, award-winning gospel sensation Gifty Osei and Pastor Kofi of the Royal House Chapel are ready to set the pace for a successful year with a special Thanksgiving edition.
Music Thanksgiving is gonna be big!
Grab a seat at TV3 Studio B on Saturday at 7 p.m. and let's have an amazing gospel experience.
Still on entertainment, a U.S. judge has rejected Ed Sheeran's call for a legal case accusing him of copying parts of Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On to be dropped. In his decision released on Thursday, District Judge Louis Stanton said a jury should decide, adding that he found substantial similarities between several of the two works' musical elements. Songwriters Thomas Leonard and Martin Harrington had sued the singer in 2016, claiming his hits had a similar structure to their song Amazing. Sheeran denies ripping off sections of the 1973 classic for his #1 hit Thinking Out Loud. Sheeran's defense team has argued that Thinking Out Loud is different because it has somber, melancholic tones addressing long-lasting romantic love, while Let's Get It On is characterized as a sexual anthem. In 2017, Sheeran settled a $20 million copyright infringement claim against him in the U.S. over his hit song, Photograph.
We'll see how that ends, right?
Yeah, I'm waiting to see the outcome of this.
Absolutely, same. Well, on that note, we round up with News 360 this evening. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Natalie Fort.
And I am Pakusi Asare. Enjoy your weekend. Stay blessed.